we're going to reconvene at 7:35 p.m. Mr. Jorgensen, will you lead us in the flag salute?
Hand over your heart, ready to begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. Falsgraf, will you lead us through the civility statement, please?
I surely will. I'll be reading this for myself tonight. When conducting the district's business, we will strive to communicate clearly and concisely with respect for the time of others. We will listen objectively, carefully considering the opinions of others. We will understand the counterproductive effects of disruptive, demeaning, and intimidating behaviors. We will understand and respect district policies and procedures, and we will maintain a respect for the rich history of the district and of the efforts of those who have served in the past.
Thank you. We're at 5A, public comments, recognitions, and reports. If anyone would like to address the report, please request for any agendized or non-agendized items to the superintendent part of the meeting. No more than 3 minutes are allotted for any one speaker and no more than 20 for the same subject. This portion of the agenda is for comments, recognitions, and reports to the board and is not intended to be a question and answer period. Mr. King, do you have anyone that would like to address the board? Thank you. Do we have any recognitions or reports?
Not for now.
Thank you. We have Ada representative, is Melissa Trissell. Okay. Okay. How about Cesar Ortiz for CSBA? Is Cesar here? Do not see Cesar as well. How about our student representative, Kemp Fairbanks? I'm trying to lift my fingers with the mouse. Thank you. So we'll go on to Superintendent, the gold standard report, Mr. King.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Ms. Jensen. Let me start with the COVID update and anything we've learned from Waco. Basically, it's good news. The numbers continue to come down. Vaccinations are going very well throughout the county and the state. California is actually, I think, second to Hawaii, which is a very good thing, in the progress we're making health-wise. So good news there. We are moving towards yellow. I don't know if there's not necessarily any changes for the classroom in that regard, but it's just, progress again towards moving towards a healthier state in terms of the data. I'd like to talk a little bit about facilities and compliment Ernesto Mora, high school principal Matthew Brockway, and our maintenance and custodial staff. They received on Williams facilities inspection a score of 99%. Those are not easy to get. There's only 4 categories. There's exemplary, good, fair, and poor. And so they got a score of exemplary, which is 99 and above. So I just really want to extend my thanks to the team. Ernesto is everywhere, and he's just done a great job throughout the entire pandemic period with distance learning and all the requirements and guidelines, and then doing a facilities Williams inspection in between with a couple of practice runs they did, walking through the classrooms ahead of time. So I just want to thank the staff at the high school and Ernesto Moore. Appreciate all the work they did to get ready for that and receiving that score. The Superintendent Student Advisory Council. I think we have a slide for that just to remind the board of who's on there. No, okay, that's all right. That's okay. So just a reminder, those are the students that represent Meadowlark, High Desert School, and Vasquez High School. The one thing I want to let you know is that I'm meeting again with those students next week. That's going to be part of our LCAP report. So in addition to getting input from all of our adult stakeholders, we also want to hear from our main clientele, the students, to see what they value about the education here in Acton Agua Dulce and what they see as areas of growth through the eyes of, an elementary school student, a middle school student, and a high school student. So I look forward to reporting that out to the board as well. The next thing I'd like to talk about is graduations. So we are preparing for graduations. I want to thank the parents that have been meeting with Mr. Brockway. We have a committee put together for the class of 2020. And we have a committee that's been put together for the class of 2021. As I shared with the board in previous updates, I will be looking for board consensus to change the June 10th board meeting to June 9th, Wednesday, in order for us to hold the class of 2020 graduation on Thursday, June 10th, which is when the board meeting is scheduled for, and then class of 21 on Friday, June 11th. And so by doing that, does a couple things. One is it makes the graduations back-to-back without a board meeting in the middle, just for convenience. But logistically, in terms of the setup and tear down and what has to be done for the distancing and so on, it helps out the maintenance crew to do them back-to-back. So I can bring that up during the future agenda items and calendar to look for consensus, if that pleases the board president.
Sure.
Okay. And then on March 30th, I already talked about that. There's the Williams piece, that's fine. And then I want to thank Shiloh Villasenor. We went through that difficult period with the layoffs and reductions to the staff. And I just wanted to point out that we kept talking about, as a board and district, that we're laying off positions, not people. And so here's an example where the person was able to secure employment with our district because of Ed Code, because of the law, because of their rights, because of the collective bargaining agreement. And I agree with so many of the comments in regard to Shiloh as what she brings to the district. But again, pleased to have her working at HDS and doing a great job over there. Just for public edification on that, there's a 39-month rehire list. So when anybody is ever laid off in a school district, they have rights to that position in which they serve permanent employment in that. It doesn't help if you've been a substitute, but you have to have served in that district as a permanent employee, and we use your seniority status in that regard to help you secure employment in the future during that time period. We do have another special video for the public and for you this evening, board. This is kind of part 2 of the VHS, continued celebrating our seniors. And again, I want to point out the gold standard 3.0 in regard to stakeholders play a vital role in what is the educational process. We value their opinions and feedback and seek to involve them in decisions which impact the education of our students. We establish a culture that encourages positive relationship among our students, staff, and parents, as well as educational, business, and community partners. And with that, we'll share our video.
Shut the door, please.
My name's Carla Avalos, and this year has been really difficult from all this pandemic, but overall I would say that Vasquez is a really fun and interesting place to go. Not very many people to meet, but you meet good friends.
I'm Nathaniel Duncan. I've played baseball for the past 3 years at our school. One of my other hobbies when I'm not playing baseball is playing hockey with some friends on the ring, just for fun. After I graduate, I plan on going to college and becoming an ER nurse. And something that I really liked about this funky senior year we've had is being a part of the MTV crew.
My name is Austin McConnell. My biggest accomplishment is that I've submitted 5 poems and 1 reflection to our local newspaper, and I think I want to be a teacher one day.
I'm Barry Johnson. I've been part of the soccer and baseball teams for the past 3 years. I'm now captain of the soccer team. I've also been part of the NHS club for the past 2 years, with this being my 3rd year. I plan on either going to a 4-year university or trade school next year.
I am Angela Gonzalez, and I've played volleyball for the past 4 years and swim for 3 years.
My name is Aiden Vidic. I recently became an Eagle Scout. I've been in cross country all 4 years that I've been at this school. I plan on applying to the Naval Academy when I leave high school.
My name is Jonathan Gomeros, and I go to Vasquez High School. I'm a senior.
My name is Arden. My most favorite experience at Vasquez was a soccer game.
Sergio, my best moments in Vasquez High School was probably the basketball games because met new people, have fun.
My name is Abigail Perez from Vasquez High School. I'm 17 years old and I play sport. I play soccer. I've been playing soccer since my freshman year.
My name is Naomi Craddock. I'm a senior at Vasquez, class of 2021. I've been on swim, softball, volleyball, made some awesome memories. I plan on going to college for astrophysics and possibly psychology. I don't know yet.
My name is Vanessa Plaza. What I love most about Vasquez is that I was able to experience new things due to the classes they offer, such as culinary and digital design. And another great thing about the school is that it gave me new opportunities to make new friends and meet amazing people. And the memories that you make here are just great. And after I graduate, I hope to either go into nursing or criminology.
My name is Heather Lopez, senior of the class of 2021, and I have played volleyball for 3 years now, hopefully, and I am a member of the swim team. What I love about Vasquez is the teachers and students are amazing in their own way.
My name is Donald Boyd. I'm from the class of 2021. I am a member of the swim team, not for this year as of now, but hopefully we can get it into this year.
My name is Giovanna Guzman and I am a senior at Vasquez High School. Vasquez prepared me to what I wanted to major in after high school. I plan to go straight to a 4-year university and major in biochemistry and minor in biophysics. Dr. Shoddy helped me figure out how to get the best experience during and after high school.
My name is Stephanie Cruz. I am senior at Vasquez High School, class of 2021. I do plan on going to college. I want to go to a community college and then transfer to a university. I plan on becoming a lawyer.
My name is Destiny Blaine. I'm a senior, class of 21. I have been on the cheerleading and softball team for 4 years now. I plan to major in psychology and attend Occidental College next year.
My name is Zara Moore and I'm a senior of class of 2021. I'm captain of the Vasquez Rodeo team and vice president of the CHSRA District 9 team. After high school, I plan to attend college and major in animal science to start my own business in equine therapy.
My name's Taylor Gregory. I'm a senior at Vasquez High School, and my favorite memory was making a meme wall in Mr. Salcedo's classroom from freshman year to junior year. I'm sad I didn't get to do it this year.
My name is Cable Murphy, class of 2021. I'm the varsity captain for volleyball.
My name is Alex Moran. I'm a senior in the class of 2021. I am the current, one of the current soccer captains for what it's worth in this crazy year, but I'll be going to COC next year for the next 2 years and then transferring to San Diego University where I'll be majoring in business administration or marketing.
I'm Braden Flores. This year will be my 3rd year in MTV and first as a lead. And this is Ingram, who has interrupted several recordings for the broadcast. It's also my 4th year in cross country and 2nd year as captain. I ran 2 years of track and set a record for the 3,200 meter race in 2018, which I still hold. I've been to CIF for all 3 years in cross country and 1 in track. Some people ask me, how do I run as fast as I do? My only trick is to never give up and always push harder.
Hi, my name is Cheyenne Villasenor. I am a senior and I am ASB Vice President. What I love about Vasquez, it's a very small school, so everybody knows everyone and you fit right in. What I also love about Vasquez is it's a new campus, so everything is really nice, clean, and organized, which I truly love. After high school, I want to go to GCU, where I want to be going this fall.
of advice I have for underclassmen is that anything can be taken away at any point, so make the most of your lives while you still can and don't take it for granted.
To start your driver's ed early. That's all I can say.
To stay on top of it, do your work. It'll open so many more opportunities, and you'll live a stress-free life.
Do your homework and study for tests.
Don't be surprised if the friends you make freshman year aren't the friends you have your senior year.
Try hard. Don't be lazy. Easy work. Easy grades.
Take advantage of your high school experience because it goes by in a flash. Do everything you can. Get involved, especially because we're in such a small community. Take advantage of it, ask questions, and check out the opportunities that are around you.
I don't know, savor the memories, make memories and watch everything go by.
And just take your time when enjoying stuff. You don't have to be like everyone else and participate in everything or not participate in everything. Just do what's best for you.
Do everything that you can because time flies by real quick.
It's to make the memories you can before something like what's happening now happens. Keep people close to you, make personal relationships, and your high school experience will be a lot better.
That even though you don't do anything during high school, it won't matter anymore. It's your future that matters.
The key to happiness honestly comes from within, and that you're never going to fulfill your life until you're happy with yourself.
It's not to look at COVID as a disadvantage, but to look at it as an opportunity to push yourself and do your best.
High school goes by very fast in a blink of an eye, so enjoy every moment.
You're not first, you're last, Ricky Bobby, so you got to do your best constantly.
Stay on top of your school, stay on top of your grades, make good choices, but have fun. The time goes by way too fast, and it'll go by fast even quicker if you blink.
High school is what you make out of it, so go to all the dance, all the events, sports, and have fun and make great choices.
To not fall behind and catch up on your classes because it really matters and you don't really want to fall behind.
Enjoy your years there, because I think my first and second year, I didn't go to like most of the dances, and through this lockdown, it's kind of made me regret it. So if this lockdown ever goes away, I'd say try to enjoy as much time and as much activity as you can at Vasquez.
When you think you're spent and you have nothing left, you always have enough for the final sprint to the finish.
Treasure every moment because time really does fly, and high school memories will last you forever. They are the best memories. Enjoy every moment, and just remember, after a rainy day comes sunshine.
All right, well, thank you. I want to thank the video production class for putting that together. These are great. I think it's a great way to acknowledge our seniors during a challenging time. And that concludes my comments, Madam President.
Thank you. Do we have any submissions this evening?
We do not.
Okay, board comments. Mr. Paulsgrad.
Good evening. The first thing I have to say is we're glad to see we're back on campuses, and I want everybody to recognize that this hybrid learning model is just a reaction to political pressures from different agencies that really have not much to do with education. I appreciate everyone being able to change and go with the flow. Hang in there, you're doing really, really well. I'm not hearing reports of problems with people not respecting how to keep each other safe and healthy, and keep up the good work, because not having outbreaks and things like that are what's going to get us back into the classroom, and we are a seat-based program, and that's where our excellence is. I want to say that after a busy day of work and a slow commute, which is getting slower every day, which is a good sign, really, I drive down Escondido while everybody else is on the freeway, and I gain a few minutes. And some afternoons I see that there's a baseball game going on, and I stop there. It was very refreshing because we do a lot of policy work up here. 85% of what we do up here is prescribed and needs to be done every year, and it's kind of repetitive. So that is very different from what's going on in the campuses, and I think to be informed, to be a good school board member, you need to be able to see what's going on in the campuses. So stopping in and seeing a baseball game was very exciting for me. It's been a while. One of the games was very close. The other one was just a wipeout. And what I noticed is our team, Vasquez, had the opportunity to run the score up on the other team a couple of times pretty badly. But they didn't. And I called the coach over and I said, you know, I appreciate it that you don't do that. And the coach said, we don't gain by humiliating other students. And I thought that was excellent. I asked him for a baseball. He reminded me of these baseballs. I think he pays for them personally, $10 each, so we need to be very careful with this. But, you know, being a coach is not getting people to do what you want them to do. It's empowering people to find their own potential. And there's a great deal of confidence that comes to doing the right thing. So, Mr. Sparks, I'm going to sign this baseball, and I'm going to send it down the row. I would ask the other board members to do that. Mr. King, would you make sure Mr. Sparks gets that baseball and takes it back to the team and throws it to a player that hits a home run? Now let's talk a little bit about the press. I love the press. Finally, there was some local coverage about the San Diego ruling. It was pretty in-depth. Had a lot of questions, good questions. Fortunately, the answers to all those questions are found in this document. Notice of entry of judgment or order, SCD 266439. I think it's very unfortunate that the big newspapers like the San Diego Herald and the LA Times got this, but apparently our local papers were withheld from it, so they couldn't get the answer. But I do have a copy for you right here if you can't get one. A lot of good questions, but there was one question in there that didn't get asked, and I've always wanted to know the answer to it. I will tell you that there's no bank to rob if there's no bank. And there's no way to get in the vault of the bank to take money unless the door is opened by someone. Now what this paper will tell you, this paper again, is that the people that were the main perpetrators in this case that were driving around in Lamborghinis down in Newport are now looking at 9 and 10 years respectively in the state penitentiary where Bubba and his partners are ready to accept them with open arms. I want to remind everybody that without somebody opening the door, these people would have never been able to do that. And that somebody is superintendents and board members. Am I saying that board members and superintendents know what crimes are and what we're going to be committed? Of course not. People drank the Kool-Aid. But look, I don't have any Kool-Aid on my lips, and if you do, toothpaste will take it off. But my question is, the closer it comes to sentencing of these people, are they finally going to open up their mouth and start singing like canaries about who opened the door to the vault? I would very much appreciate the answer to that question. Mr. Fox.
I enjoyed the video. I don't have too many comments tonight because we've got a big agenda, but the video was very inspiring. Thank you to the students and Mr. Sparks for creating it for us.
Good evening. Congratulations to all the students and teachers and administration that are back in class at campus. It's great to see all the excitement around it. Everybody's doing a great job managing both in class and online learning. See a lot of positives both for different students. The video tonight was great, and no doubt that all of you kids will go on to do great things in your life, no matter how big or small it is. Each person's journey along the way is their own individual journey, and just do what's best for you and put in the best possible work you can on a daily basis. You'll succeed no matter what it is. Basically, all I have to say about that tonight, I would like to throw one thing out there, being that we have seemed to master the online learning and classroom learning together, that maybe we should look into the future to have both going forward, online and in-class learning. Maybe that's a way that we can bring in more students to our classrooms and keep our numbers up where they need to be. It's just a thought that hopefully everybody will consider and think about. Mr. Jorgensen.
I'm going to start with the most recent first. It was great to see some of my freshman students are graduating now. I saw some familiar faces, and they're progressed just like they did when they were in class, and it was really exciting to see. I'm looking forward to them graduating this June, and the successes and the objectives they have, I think, are going to be well met. They've worked hard and done their job under the most trying of circumstances, and yet they prevailed. And so I was excited to see a lot of familiar faces and all the successes and the hard work. On the second part was, as I was accompanying Mr. King, and we stopped by and Ms. Jensen on Thursday for the second cohort B, or whatever it was, the B group, returning to the campuses, and you couldn't see all the smiles on the faces, but you could see it in the eyes because they're very expressive. The kids were excited. Let me out of the car. And I think the moms and the dads dropping them off were saying, oh, good, now I can go shopping. They're in school. So I think that it was great. The staff and the administrators we went to High Desert, Meadowlark, and Vasquez, all three sites, and they were well organized and receptive. And so I'm just glad to see the kids getting back on campus where they need to be, because that's where we can have the most positive effect. So congratulations to site for getting it organized and receiving your students, and students, congratulations to you prevailing in these hard times, and look forward to seeing you seniors graduate in June.
Good evening. First, I just want to thank Alex for all the hard work he does with our technology. So we have just give away. He's always behind the scene, but he's helping everybody get in and out, and so I just want to publicly thank him. So I appreciate that. I love the video. It was so great to, it's so great to see the seniors and their advice. They're way smarter than most of the adults. So we've really been their young adults almost. So we appreciate them. While on the Williams visit to the high school, congratulations. That's not an easy thing to do. So I don't take that lightly when you tell me that you have such a high rate of a Williams visit. I've been through some of them. That's fantastic. Along with what Mr. Jorgensen said, we did visit sites on Thursday. It was so great to see kids back in school. It was interesting. We're on the sidewalk at Meadowlark, and we were in the way of the blue line. So we know where the blue line is because those kids know exactly what to do. And thanks to the parents working on some of the traffic and being patient. And it was really nice that a parent rolled down the window and gave a nice compliment to our principal that was working out there. And so thank you for recognizing their hard work. Thanks to all the classified, all the administrators, teachers, parents, and students. It was so wonderful to see kids back at school. On Monday, I attended the Kern County EL roadmap for school board members just to get some more insight on what we could be doing to help our English learning students. And so that was great, talking about the educational programs and services for English learners. So that was fantastic. And just a quick shout out to Yolanda also for helping Leadership Associates work on our superintendent search. They've been working with some of our groups and surveying with our stakeholders what we're looking for in a superintendent. And so we kind of stay out of that, and Yolanda's been working with them and organizing all these meetings on top of her job, so thank you, Yolanda. If you did not come and have some of the meetings, there is a survey that everyone can do. We want as much input as possible so that we're hearing what our community is looking for. So it's online, and if you need some help, you can reach out to Yolanda, so we appreciate that. So with that, we will move on to the consent agenda. We have 8A, approval of the consent calendar items. Can I get a motion?
Tim Jorgensen moved.
Tim, can I get a second, please?
Mike Fox, a second.
Mike Fox. Any questions or comments?
I have a comment about the warrant register. There are a number of charters in there showing the payout to those charters. I want to confirm that those payouts are actually passed through a funding in which the school district, as the authorizer of the charter, provides funding to the charter before that funding is recouped back to the district. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you. I'm good then. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Falscott. Anyone else have anything?
I just wanted to clarify one thing on items G and H. Those are, large ticket items that you'll see for technology. There's again Chromebooks for students that have to do with replacing obsolete and damaged ones, and the same for teacher laptops. But those funds come out of what are called the gear funds. So we've been talking about a variety of funds that have resulted as a result of the pandemic. One of those is called the gear funds, which is the Governmental Emergency Educational Relief Fund. And there's a timeline to spend those monies, and you want to use those monies or you lose them. So I just wanted to clarify that those are not coming out of our general fund.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? And after this year, of course, we need some new technology, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. And if there is not any other comments, can we get a vote?
Falsgraf, aye.
Mike Fox, aye.
Chad Wadsworth, aye.
Tim Jorgensen, aye.
And Kelly Jensen, aye. That's a 5-0. That passes. We're going to move on to the consent calendar agenda now. We have 10A, the supplementary retirement plan, the SRP. Mr. King. Oh, let's get a motion to move this in first.
Mike Fox, I'll move it in.
Okay.
Chad Wadsworth, second.
Chad second, and then I'll turn it over to Mr. King.
Thank you. So yeah, we're happy to bring this to you this evening. This was something that the board asked us to look into, and you approved a contract on February 11th that we entered into with the Public Agency Retirement Services Organization. That allowed staff to work with PARS in order to conduct an analysis to see if there is any employee interest for qualified employees. There was, as a reminder, there's no obligation to retain the services of PARS, but to see if there is an interest and if there is an advantage to any cost savings. We completed that work, and PARS completed their work with that. Just as a reminder again, employees that chose to participate in the program will get a benefit of 75% of their salary to be paid out in equal distributions over any number of years, depending on which option they pick, options 1 through 15. Options 5 through 15 correspond with the years. So for example, if you pick option 8 times 12 months is 96. So you would get 96 equal distributions of 75% of your salary. We had 10 qualified employees that applied for the PARS program, 3 teachers, 5 classified employees, 2 classified confidential management personnel. The district would realize a cost savings by way of this program in the amount of approximately $384,000. I don't want that to be confused with our ARIN program, which was the early retirement incentive notification, in which we offered employees, after the board's approval, $3,000 apiece for notifying us early that they'd be retiring, which would help us with our staffing allocations and position control. Through that effort, we realized an additional cost savings of approximately $350,000. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Rachel Sanders. Hassan, if you can introduce Rachel Sanders, if you have any other comments. Otherwise, we can just go right to Ms. Sanders and have us walk through the analysis that was conducted by PARS, and then we're happy to take board questions and comments.
Hello, board members. So I believe, I don't know if you guys have met Rachel Sanders, but she was heavily involved in getting all the documentation and doing the analysis for our PARS program. And so, Rachel, without further ado, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you. Good evening, members of the board and staff. Glad to be here with you tonight. As mentioned, I'm a consultant with PARS, and I've been working closely with district staff on this early retirement incentive. So I initially presented to you our pre-analysis back in January, so glad to be with you to share the results tonight. And I know Larry gave a great overview already, but let me just quickly, if we could pull up the board presentation, or I have it on my screen too, if that's easier for me to share. That's it. Excellent. So let me just give a brief overview of what the program entailed and what the results were. So if we start on the first page of this presentation on our screen, just past the title page. Perfect. So Larry mentioned when we initially worked on this with staff, we looked at different scenarios and what may work best to attract employees above and beyond the district's natural attrition. And so we decided to offer 75% of final pay to eligible employees. Eligible employees really were those employees that had 5 years of service with the district and were eligible to retire under CalPERS and CalSTRS. Now, the way that this program works, just as a reminder, is that if the district decides to move forward with offering this benefit, this will be purchased through a 403B annuity held at Pacific Life Insurance Company. And as Larry mentioned, there's a lot of flexibility in terms of the options in which employees can actually take that 75% of final pay. So in fact, if we go to the next slide, this is, as Larry mentioned, are the different option choices that your employees had. They had 3 different variations of lifetime options. Some of these are going to be very similar to what they would be seeing under CalPERS or CalSTRS. And in addition to that, they had options 5 through 15, which paid out monthly anywhere between 5 and 15 years. So the nice thing about this program is that it does allow your employees to put themselves in a favorable tax position based on what option they choose, and again, puts that flexibility and freedom in their hands to make a choice that best makes sense for them. Now, with the PARS model, we worked very closely with district staff to ensure that when we're showing ultimate net savings, we're showing realistic numbers. We certainly don't want to show any pie in the sky numbers. So staff has been very helpful in letting us know, what the natural attrition for this year was going to be. We got great feedback on who had already enrolled in the district incentive. That certainly changed some factors in our analysis because we didn't want to take credit for those retirements that you had already gotten. In addition to your natural attrition, we also factor in the compensation differential between an outgoing employee and someone that would be backfilling that position. We factor in the retiree health care costs. As you know, you do pay out retiree medical up to a certain age for your employees, so that is also built into our model. We factor in all of the statutory benefits, all of the fees and the incentive costs that you're actually going to be paying out to your employees are also included in our analysis. And then we worked with the district on learning which positions could be non-replaced. And so we got clear instruction on which positions those would be, and we're able to apply that to our model as well. So all of these variables ultimately will show you what a net savings or cost would look like per each employee group. Now, if we go to the next slide, this gives you the total retirements by employee group. So this is actually very close to what we had assumed based on our pre-analysis. I think we were just 1 employee off from what we had initially showed you. So you ended up getting 3 out of the 13 eligible teachers, no certificated management, 5 out of the 27 eligible classified non-management employees, and then 2 classified management employees. So in total, as Larry mentioned, 10 took the incentive. And then on the next slide, we show those fiscal summary of savings. So again, these numbers are very much driven by feedback from the district. For the certificated non-management, we were informed that 2 out of those 3 employees would be non-replaced. Ultimately, those projected savings over 5 years for teachers, right around $154,000. We were instructed specifically that 2 classified non-management positions would be non-replaced. And so when we factored those positions in, we see savings over 5 years of about $227,000. And then for the classified management positions, we assumed that both of those positions would be fully replaced with a net savings of about $2,700 over 5 years. So in total, we are projecting savings of about $384,000 if the district does indeed stick to the intended non-replacement plan. So that, I know, is a brief overview, and at this point, I'm happy to answer any questions that any of you may have.
I'll save my comments for when we're at the end of the discussion.
Yeah, I do have a question, and then like Mr. Fosgraf, I think there'll be some debate. early on, you said that the benefit was 75% of final pay. And of course, there's different ways in which that can be dispersed. I understand that. Is it 75% of final pay, like 1 year's 75%? Or is it, so if I make, or is it 5 years of at 75%? So for example, let's say I'm 50 and I retire 5 years early. Because I, you know, let's just say 5 years early I fit the window. Am I collecting 75% of my salary for each of those 5 years that's ultimately being paid for by us, or just 75% of my salary for 1 year?
Just 1 year, and that's dispersed over a period of time.
Correct. Just 1 year.
Just 1 year. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's going to bring me to my next question. I don't know how to. Okay, so I'm going to ask this, and maybe Hassan knows. I thought that the 75% was, let's say I'm retiring 5 years early, that for 5 years, I'm collecting the value of 75% for each of those 5 years. And the reason I thought that was because, you know, we're looking at 10 people retiring, 4 non-replaced. So effectively, let's say 4 people's worth of position control, if you will. And that savings is $380,000, which sounds like a lot over 5 years. Now, so I did the math, and this is what I don't understand about it, so somebody can shed some light. Because I did the math, and if you say $380,000 divided by 5 years, on average, we're saving $76,000 a year by doing this program where 10 go out and 6 get replaced. So $76,000 on each of those 5 years divided by 4 positions, 4 net non-replacements, says that the value of the non-replacements, right, because that's what we're doing. We're doing this as a tiny way of reduction in force. The value of those non-replacements is only $19,000 per year per position. $380,000 over 5 years, divided by 5 years, just to amortize those savings per year, is $76,000 per year, with 4 positions being eliminated. So $19,000 per year per position is the benefit, is the savings. When we just did our very painful layoff, we eliminated 7.5 certificated in management full-time positions and 6 classified part-times. Just say the 6 classified part-times come out to be equivalent of 4 FTEs. Then that says that layoff was about 11.5 FTEs. And that layoff saved $878,000 each year. So if you take $878,000 each year and divide it by 11.5 full-time position, the savings look like, I did the math here, look like about $76,000 per year per position, not $19,000 per year per position. Now I know all positions aren't created equal, but I thought that maybe that vast disparity in the value of position control was because we were paying the $75,000 up. Because somebody who elects to take the package was receiving not only medical, but also $75,000 worth of benefits for each of up to 5 years. You understand? So am I absolutely certain that we are not paying out $75,000 worth of salary benefit for 75% of salary benefit for each of 5 years?
No,
up to?
Rachel can clarify, but it's 75% of an individual's salary to be divided over any number of years.
So even if they retire 4 years early, it's only 75%.
Correct.
Then they can take it whichever they want. How many years of medical benefits are we providing?
Rachel, can you speak to the medical benefit?
Yeah, so we do factor in that employees will get the retiree medical benefits that they're entitled to under the district's plan. And I'll defer to Asan in case I'm misspeaking on this, but I believe that the district pays out retiree medical until an employee reaches the age of 65. So that calculation is factored into our analysis as well.
Okay, so we're providing medical, and when are people eligible to take this? At what age? About 50 or 55? So we're buying medical for up to 10 or 15 years.
Right. So okay. Yeah, that retiree medical cost does make a difference as well.
Now I understand. Now I understand why, in the context of position control, the layoffs reaped about $76,000 per year per position. And this approach, because of the medical expenses, is really the expensive part because they go on for so long, only yields $19,000 per year per position, roughly, by my math. And now I understand because it's up to 10 to 15 years of medical coverage that we're purchasing on behalf. I understand. So I'll leave the rest to when we discuss it. Thank you. You answered my question.
Sure.
Did we start the round table thing? I have nothing to add right now.
Well, tacking on what Mike said, now, when we're talking about medical, currently under our medical coverage, and these are full-time employed positions, correct?
Yes, correct.
Right. So we contribute, I'm going to say what I remember, about $9,500, depending on what plan they approach, we contribute the difference to that. So if they had a plan that was 12 grand, the district gave them in their salary was 9,500. They're responsible for the difference to whatever plan. So if they stuck on the same plan, the medical benefit is not going to be essentially the same as when they were working. They're going to have more expense on their end to keep, if they wanted to stay with Blue Cross, like what I was on, and I wanted to stay on that, I'm still responsible for my portion. Our expense doesn't change it. It still stays at 9,500, whatever it is.
Yes, correct. And actually, I'm looking at a summary of our analysis in the retiree healthcare costs right now on my screen. And you're right, we did factor in retired employees' cost would be for certificated $9,437, and for a classified employee $10,437.
So we know what that's going to be because that just stays unless there's some negotiated system. And my experience with this is that employees go out and get another job, and then they, from someplace else, and they get there, they say, I want my 75% number, and pay it to me out over 5 years. And so they think, okay, every month you're going to get X amount of dollars, and at the end of that 5 years, it stops. Mm-hmm. And then all we have is the medical expense. Does the medical expense continue after we stop paying that?
Dependent upon the employee's age. So again, it's my understanding that your retiree medical costs are incurred up until an employee reaches the age of 65. So it really will be dependent upon the age of the employee who's taken this plan.
And that would only be effective if, let's say, went and got full-time employment someplace else.
Sure. And I will say that this plan only required resignation, but it did not require concurrent retirement under CalPERS and CalSTRS. So in theory, you could have an employee who took this plan that cannot return to your district under a full-time contract, but could theoretically work for another district, as you mentioned.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I just have one question.
Sure.
Regardless if they take this plan or they retire, whatever that is, the benefits are until 65 regardless.
Yes, that's correct.
So it doesn't matter if I take this plan or if I go out next year, it doesn't matter. It stops at 65.
Right. In accordance with the
right. So I just want to clarify that. Okay.
Okay, so it's my understanding that round of question was about the math and understanding what the program is about. Now this will be about the policy, and these will be my questions and comments before I vote. We all know that age discrimination affects people 50 and over. Or is it 40 now? I believe it's 40. Okay. So that's a very fine razor blade to be walking. So that's why I'm going to ask these questions. These are for the superintendent only. Was this a voluntary program?
Yes.
Was anybody encouraged, pressured, direct, or by inference?
No, they were not.
Was there targeting of positions?
No, there wasn't.
Was there targeting of individuals?
No, there was not.
Was there any criteria other than raw eligibility?
No, there was not.
How were the employees advised that this program was going to be available?
Via email and outreach from PARS.
Okay. The idea here is that you assure future savings. I'll end my comments with that, but would it be fair to say that the district was left to respond?
It would appear that we lost audio, and it's not just us. Other people are texting me and telling me they've lost audio. So it looks like a technical difficulty on the district's end. I just texted the meeting person in charge because they've closed the chat for everyone. It looks like you can only chat with certain people, the host maybe and co-host. So I'm just letting them know that we've lost audio because, for obvious reasons.
Okay, so where we're at is my colleagues had a few questions about the numbers and the general fiscal impact. This is about policy and me assuring that I understand that the policy wasn't have any problems, and I'm asking for the superintendent's assurances. Starting over, it's my understanding that federal law protects age and the environment at age 40 now.
Correct.
Okay. This was a voluntary program.
Correct.
Where people were not encouraged or pressured, either directly or by inference.
Accurate.
That there was no targeting of specific positions or individuals.
Correct.
This has nothing to do with performance evaluations or things like that.
Correct.
There was no criteria other than strict eligibility.
That's correct.
How were employees notified that this program existed?
Through the PARS organization and email.
Okay. So here's kind of, maybe I'll be able to bunch this up a little bit better this time. The district, in looking for savings, opened itself up to some restructuring based on who chose to participate, rather than we choose you to go bye-bye so that fits our restructuring plan. So the district could have found itself based on who participated, ranging from no one to a lot of different people, could have found the restructuring that would be necessary to be driven by which employees themselves chose to participate, rather than, so a different group of employees would participate, or this group would have made the effect of this on the district's need to restructure could have been different.
Correct.
And controlled completely by who chose voluntarily to participate. Okay. So here's what I'm worried about. This is not appropriate to implement this until you know who participates, until their paperwork is signed, until everything is done. But what I find is people in public sector want to come in and negotiate at step, in my world, at step 1 through 5. I want to come in, I want to use my experience, and I want to come in at step 4. Well, we need to save money on these positions or we don't realize this, and PARS is going, once you make your commitment, you're going to pay them, and if you don't have the money out of the to pay them through the savings, you're going to pay it out of the general fund, so you are going to pay the bill. That's the bottom line. So unless you go into these salaries that were impacted and adjust them, so step 5 is now the equivalent of step 3. I don't want this to say somewhere down the road, I can't bring in a highly qualified person because I can't give you step 5. Because 3 years ago, before we even knew you existed, we made this deal over here. So at some point, I think that the salary structure, that the savings are captured in here, depending on some classifications paying lower, needs to be memorialized in A, job descriptions, and B, salary schedules for some of these. That is not the appropriate time to do that or discuss that tonight, but I do want that memorialized in someone's head. My final question was this. Let's say I watch this tonight and I have signed up for this program and I decide, you know what, maybe this is not for me. Is there a penalty on that person in the work environment tomorrow morning?
But Rachel, can you address that question?
Yes, I can. So as part of the packet that an employee submitted, that person would have signed an irrevocable district letter of resignation. So we were very clear in our communication to employees that if they signed up for this program and the board ultimately authorized the program to move forward, they would be locked into participation. However, if the board makes the decision to cancel this program, then all of those letters of resignation would be automatically rescinded and the employee would have no obligation to retire. So to your question, all of those that signed up would be locked into participation if you do decide to move forward with this.
Next question. Let's say I'm watching this tonight and I didn't understand certain elements of it, like I'm going to take my highest paid year. Is it the highest paid year of the employee's choice or is it their current salary range?
So this program was based on their contract salary for this school year.
Okay. Yeah, some agencies find themselves in trouble when they don't seal bargaining agreements up for 3 years and then bonus the employees all of the back pay at once, and then I choose my highest year in which my salary appeared to be 30% higher. That would be unfortunate for the agency. Unfortunately, that's not this one. So, final question. Let's say I'm watching this tonight, and I look at this and say, I understand it better. I think I would like to participate because I qualify, and I came forward. Is there still room for people who might make that choice on their own to participate?
So, Rachel, I can speak to that piece. You can add to it, but let me share, because this would be a staff decision. Pending board's approval of this item, we would extend this through April 30th, which is next Friday, 2021, to allow others to participate if they're qualified.
Is that stipulation clear in our vote tonight?
It is now.
Do we need to have a modification when it comes time for voting?
No, because you're approving the current folks that are on this agenda item only.
Okay. That'll be it for me. I'll support this evening. Thank you.
Okay, I guess that means it's my
Mike, yeah, Mike.
I don't want to disappoint anybody with my position. I know that, you know, when it was offered, I hope it, you know, when we considered it, it was subject to approval as we found out how the numbers would work out. So, and it's not anything personal. For me, this is too expensive. Yes, it saves money. It saves money because there's 4 people's worth of position control, but it's too expensive a way to save that money. Meaning, we're not getting enough bang out of the buck for those 4 positions that are controlled by not rehiring. And I say that, and now I know why. It's because we're buying up to 15 years of health insurance for people who aren't working with us, and that, of course, is factored into. As I said before, you know, at $19,000 per year per position, that's not enough savings, because what happens is we have a budget that's currently $1.5 million structurally broken. We are talking about $500,000 of reductions next budget that would be ongoing. And still we'd be at $1 million deficit, notwithstanding anything else that might come down the pike. I guess that could be said in either direction. So even if we do this, we're in no way, stretch, or form done with layoffs. I mean, there's only, you know, when 80% of your budget goes to people and positions, then when we have to go after that 500,000, just like we went after the 725,000 last year, or this February, that's going to be people and position and services to our students. So any position that's reduced, like these 4, yeah, we have got to get the maximum value out of that position reduction. It's got to be that you got to get the maximum value out. Otherwise, we have to do more reductions in the future. So no matter what, we have to do some layoffs next year, because this gets us $380,000 over 5 years, not $500,000 in 1 year to be continued. So there's going to be some pain next year no matter what. And I believe that in the long run, the pain is greater, because this is a very expensive way to get those 4 positions. I mean, sadly, if those 4 positions were just laid off, the per year savings would be much more than $19,000 per year per position. And what that means is ultimately we'll end up with fewer positions that we'll be able to fund, which means less services for our kids. It's too expensive for me. Now I know why. It's not the $75,000 for not coming to work 1 year. It's the fact that we're buying medical for the next 10 or 15 years, that 10 to 15 years, depending up to age 65, that is very expensive and makes this an expensive way to do those 4 positions of position control. In fact, if we replaced every position, this would cost money, because, you know, the people are going out, it's costing more to send them out, but then we're not saving as much as on the people that are leaving and other people that are coming in. So it's just a very expensive way to do the position control, which means we'll have to do more position control than we otherwise would have to in future years. It's too expensive for me. Sorry about that. It's just the way the numbers came out.
So I have to ask, Mike, what would your suggestion be?
I would not do this, and I think that regardless, we're going to have layoffs. Not necessarily these people, right? Nothing to do with this, but we're going to have to lay people off. We know this. There's $500,000 that's come out of next year's budget. And no matter what, there'll be layoffs. There'll be more positions affected by the layoffs than with this. That's true. But we're not saving enough this way. Layoffs are a more efficient way to save money. It's a horrible thing to say, but that's what it is. And the whole reason we're doing this is to save money.
But what if you had an employee that may be close to retirement, but can't quite take that step yet because it's not time?
They stay at work.
But maybe that employee is tired and ready, you know, it's not necessarily producing the best product for our our students. Don't you think maybe if you gave them an opportunity to maybe step out early with some dignity and their finances in order, it might open up the door to keep somebody that's maybe a little more energetic?
I do understand.
Excuse me, gentlemen. President, let the record reflect I'm leaving this meeting. I'm not comfortable with the discussion as it goes. I appreciate both gentlemen's opinion and encourage them to carry on, but I won't be a part of this, and you'll call me when it's time, when this is over. Thank you. It's time for vote. Thank you.
I understand your suggestion, but it's too expensive for me. That's what it is.
My opinion on it is that I feel that if there's people there that are ready to step out, maybe financially they can't do it, they're not quite to that point. Maybe they're 2 years or 4 years or 5 years away from retiring, but this opportunity gives them the time to step away. It's saving us some money. I feel it's beneficial to allow those people that are at that point where they're just tired and they're ready to move on and maybe get a little benefit from it, rather than go in and just do a hard firing or layoff. I just think it's an opportunity for certain individuals to get out with a little bit of dignity.
Well, the concerns I have, I get the concerns about the savings, the medical part, because the participants in this could be 50, could be 57, could be 60, and they have 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and then they're out, but they have put in time, sustaining time of service to our students, because we're in the business of serving students, and there's always that equation of mindset that I need to recognize that someone can continue to work for us if they have to, and I'm expecting that if in the event that we had to fill it, that it's not going to be filled in with experience, like, okay, you had 5 years over there, you come back, we'll honor that and move you up the ladder, that we keep that fiscal responsibility to bring them in at step 1 or 2. They went out at 7. We're not going to hire somebody back in at 7. And so I think there's a hard balancing act, but if we didn't do this, I'm thinking that, well, okay, we've got to go back and do some additional layoffs. We're not going to be, and it could be these positions, it could be someone down, we're going to have those hard decisions, and we're not going to have that opportunity for dollar savings, as minimal as it may be, but it's that honoring of, okay, you did work, okay, we appreciate that, fine, we've got to move on. And we give them some recognition that this incentive of 75% of their last contract service year, paid out over 4, 5, or 7 years, helps them out, saves us a little bit. We can hold off laying off a couple of positions for 1 year or maybe another year, or we don't have to have as much of a deep cut next year. And I think, I think that's something we have to think about, and we need to honor that. It's hard decisions for us, but it's not all about dollars and cents. Sometimes we have to think about the employees that we have and the contribution they make to our enterprise here.
When you're ready, Madam President, I can clarify a couple of things that were brought up. I can wait till after your comment.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of comments, but my comment is this. If we open this up again to April 30th, I don't want to get into specifics of who does what or anything like that, because I want to respect all of the employees. They're all valued, no matter if they're a lower paid classified to the top pay management position. All employees are valuable to our educational system and much needed. With that being said, if we open this up again to April 30th, and others participate, you'll bring this to the board, and once again, if it gets approved tonight, we'd have to come and approve the next group of people. Okay.
Correct.
All right. That's all I have.
Madam President. So to qualify for this program in general terms is they have to have a minimum of 5 years full-time service with us, right?
Correct.
So it's not somebody who just came here 2 years ago and now they want to go out. So it's somebody who has been here, spent some time, done multiple jobs, done whatever over a period of time. And most of these since we just have, all we have is the minimum, we don't know if they're 7, 8, 10, 12-year employees. We just know that they qualify for the minimum.
Correct.
Right.
So Ms. Jensen hit the first topic I was going to mention, which is to just be sensitive to the fact of we don't want to get into an area of age discrimination. And so I just echo Ms. Jensen's comments that we value all of our employees at every age. It's not part of the equation here. So that's the first piece. The second piece is I want to clarify. Mr. Falsgraf brought it up, and then Mr. Jorgensen, you just asked about it as well, or commented rather than asked, but I just want to clarify two things. One is I can't commit to lowering a salary schedule or to modifying a job description because it's negotiable. So that's the first thing, and I don't want to leave the board with any false sense of security that I could promise that because I can't legally. The second thing is that what PARS does as part of their analysis is they look at our history of historical hiring. And so on the aggregate, they've assigned a step that they predict in their calculation. So I'm just going to pick an arbitrary one. Let's just say something we don't have here, a plumber. I'm going to pick something we don't have here because I don't want anybody to attach their name or position to it. So let's say you had a plumber in another district who was retiring under this program, and they had 5 steps, very similar to what you're used to. We have very similar here. And that plumber retires at step 5, and you go out to hire a new plumber. PARS looks at what you've done on average in rehiring for that position, and they've assigned a step to it in their calculations. So on average, let's say you hire it at step 2 because of a plumber coming in with some experience. They've assigned it step 2. So you can make that assumption that those are in the calculations as opposed to assuming that I'll be able to make some changes to salary schedules and descriptions and things like that. So anyhow, that just to clarify, those are my comments.
Well, just one follow-up. I can recall years ago when there was the shortage of teachers, that districts got into bidding wars. Hey, we'll give you 10-year service. We'll give you 12-year service because they were very desperate to get teachers. So I understand that can happen, but I think now I get what you're saying, and I appreciate those conversations.
Sure. If I may, one last, obviously the minority view here. I do recognize everything, your comments. Everybody's comments are valid and spot on. I guess my only closing one is because of the expense associated with this, even though it saves money, we will ultimately get to a balanced budget have to eliminate more total positions.
Well, I agree with you.
And that means less services for our students.
But that's going to happen regardless.
It will be more this way because the.
Okay, again, should I walk out again?
And I want to be careful when we talk about.
Is this assuming that we're not going to capture our ADA?
Exactly.
Is this assuming that we're going to ignore Mr. Wadsworth's suggestion that we continue to think about offering virtual instruction even after this is over so we can get the kids that choose to be at home in our enrollment? Do we have to really be all this depressed? Do we need medication? Do we need a school psychologist to come in here and help us understand?
And I want to reiterate.
Okay, so I'm ready to vote. Are you ready for me to vote?
Yes.
Falsgraf, aye.
Fox, nay.
Shadowalter, aye. Tim Jorgensen, aye.
Kelly Jensen, aye. It's a 4-0, 4-1 vote. That passes. We have 10C Resolution 20-21.15 regarding layoff of classified employees. Can I get a motion to move this in?
Tim Jorgensen,
Shadowalter, seconds.
Okay, so just to clarify what this is, remember we lay out positions, not people. It's not always associated with people. In this case, there's no person affected by this layoff. we're laying off a sole standalone position that was at the middle school. It was called attendance clerk. And we want to, we've reclassified that position as office clerk. So to take the standalone position off the books, we need to lay it off. And there is no impact again to any person, and so you're not going to see an individual be affected by this.
I would suggest that before we open up documents that list names of individuals up on the screen where everyone can see them, I would think that we'd be very careful with that. Very careful. I'm not even sure I need to see that. I've seen this. I don't think we need to open up documents that list names of employees. You can tell I'm very sensitive to the names of individuals. I actually worry about whether someone has a can of soup in their refrigerator tomorrow morning. So, my question about this is a continuation of something that happened when? This was first introduced to us as a potential budgetary impact.
When I first brought
in March, is that correct?
Yes.
So it seemed to me there was much higher impact in March than what I'm seeing here.
Correct.
Which means that some people are still working.
Yes.
Which means that some people chose to retire.
Yes.
Which means that some people are still going to be working.
Yes.
Which means that those people will have a can of soup in their refrigerator tomorrow morning. Is that correct?
Yes, I would assume.
I would hope so. Thank you. That's all I have.
Mr. Fox?
Nothing. I have nothing to add.
So this is just like housekeeping, cleaning up the file, reorganizing, getting it all done so that basic, getting it back to our operational level.
That's a great way to put it, yes.
Okay.
Yes. I know the answer, but I'm going to ask the question. We do have an office clerk currently, correct, Mr. King?
We do. We have an office clerk, and so now it's aligned with the elementary school that has an office clerk. And when I spoke earlier about a specific employee that's at that school, that
yes. So so we have people, and it's just cleaning up some files, as Mr. Ferguson is saying. Let's call for the vote.
Paul Giraffe, aye.
Fox, aye. Chad Wadsworth, aye.
Tim Jorgensen, aye.
Kelly Jensen, aye. That's a 5-0 vote. That passes.
looks like just further request by the board member, I would agree. So we're not going to pull up any documents to display them for public regarding these items. So
just for clarification, the last item didn't have names.
Correct.
Thank you. Yeah, it's just a position. Okay, so for 10D resolution 20.21-21.16, implementing certificate layoff and terminating services of certificated employees as a result of reduction or discontinuation of particular kinds of service. Can I get a motion?
Tim Jorgensen.
Second. I'll second. Sorry, Mike.
Go ahead.
Mr. King, any comments?
Yeah, just some brief comments. There's a lot of whereases in the language in here. I'm sure the board reviewed it in their preparation. Essentially what you're approving is the final resolution step in certificated layoffs, which have a different compliance ed code legal procedure than we do for classified employees. Certificated employees are entitled to a hearing. The document before you says that they needed to notify the district if they wanted to have a hearing. No such employees came forward to request the hearing by the date specified. Therefore, by default, they've accepted the layoff. And out of the 7.5 positions that you laid off, 3 employees are in this resolution because they either didn't resign or, well, that would be it. They didn't, employees that resigned from the district prior to this resolution before you would not be on here. That's why you see 3 and not 7.5. I didn't want any board member thinking, what happened to the 7.5 positions?
Mr. Paulsgraf.
So again, to my point, first off, this document is available to the public.
Yes.
If you absolutely need to see it, it is available to the public. But I'm not interested in badgering people's names about and treating them like cattle for a number. Next, my understanding is that if you were on this list, you have a right to a hearing.
Correct.
And my understanding is that hearing is conducted by the Office of Administrative Hearings, which is a subdivision of the Department of Justice. Is that correct?
Correct. They sign a.
And so this is the same type of people that handle civil rights violation in schools and violation against the rights of special education children.
Correct.
And if the district is taken to an OAH hearing, the district has to pay for the hearing and defend itself.
That's right.
So it behooves the district not to engage in behaviors that would find a negative ruling against the district of an Office of Administrative Hearings, because that becomes a platform for a violation of civil rights, civil case. Trust me on all this stuff. So again, one more time, I'm bad on math. I went to school in Oklahoma. Go Sooners. Your original estimate, which you came to us in March, said that there were X number of positions.
Correct.
This represents more than a 50% reduction in what those positions were. Is that correct?
Just under 50% of what we brought to you, yes.
So collectively, of the number of employees that were going to be pink slipped and told, we can't use you anymore. Something happened between now and then, as I said before in that meeting. This was a placeholder. It says, LACO wants to know your cut number. Did LACO tell you what to do to achieve cost savings or restructurings, or to have people that decided, you know what, I'm gonna check out right now so a younger person can stay on?
No, we had to provide for them a fiscal stability plan.
Right, and they're not interested in the Hallmark cards that some of us are interested in. Is that right?
Correct.
So you didn't lay off the number of people you said you would.
We did.
Okay. So my apologies to those people. Again, I would hope that we find a way to make it regulated.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have no questions.
Okay.
Can we call for the vote, please?
Paul Jeff, unfortunately, I.
Fox, aye.
Chad Wadsworth, aye.
Tim Jorgensen, aye.
Kelly Jensen, aye. 5-0. Carries. 10E, Sunshine Act and Aqua Dulce Teachers Association ADA. Initial proposal for changes to the contract 2021 with Acton Aqua Dulce Unified School District. Can I get a motion?
So, Tim
Second.
Jorgensen,
Tim, second. Thank you. Mr. King.
Okay, so E through H, I'm just going to explain them for time savings, and they're essentially the same thing. So in letter E, you have the teachers sunshining their initial proposal for compensation and benefits, and plus 2 additional items of their choosing for the school year we're currently in, 20-21. For public edification and the board, I just want to explain that what sunshining is you're making it known to the public that you're entering into negotiations and what articles you plan on negotiating on. So letter F would be the district sunshining to negotiate with the teachers for the current school year. Letter G would be the teachers sunshining to negotiate with the district for the 21-22 school year. And letter H is the district sunshining to negotiate with the teachers for the 21-22 school year.
Questions?
Nothing here.
Nothing.
No comment.
This is just, I get that, I remember this is just like, we want to talk about this and we'll add 2 more in the future. Okay. It starts the process of discussion.
Yes.
Let's call the question.
Paul Jeff, I.
Mike Fox, aye.
Chad Wadsworth, aye.
Tim Jorgensen, aye.
Kelly Jensen, aye. 5-0. Motion carries. 10F, Sunshine Act and Aqua Dulce Unified School District. Initial proposal for changes to the contract 2020 to 2021 with Act and Aqua Dulce Teachers Association. Can I get a motion?
Tim Jorgensen.
Can I get a second?
Chad Wadsworth, second.
Mr. King, any further comments?
None.
Call the question.
Paul Jeff, I.
Mike Fox, aye.
Chad Wadsworth, aye.
Tim Jorgensen, aye.
Kelly Jensen, aye. 5-0. Motion carries. 10G, Sunshine Act and Aqua Dulce Teachers Association. Initial proposal for changes to the contract for the 2021 through 2022 with Act and Aqua Dulce Unified School District. Can I get a motion?
Tim Jorgensen, aye.
Second. Kelly Jensen. Mr. King, any comments?
None.
Call a question.
Paul Schrapp, aye.
Fox, aye.
Chad Wadsworth, aye.
Tim Jorgensen, aye.
Kelly Jensen, aye. Motion carries. I'm going to go with 10H. Sunshine Act and Aqua Dulce Unified School District initial proposal for changes to the contract 2021 through 2022 with Act and Aqua Dulce Teachers Association. Can I get a motion?
Tim Jorgensen.
Can I get a second?
Mike Fox, seconds.
Any comments, Mr. King?
None at this time, no.
Let's call for the vote.
Paul Schrapp, aye.
Mike Fox, aye.
Chad Wadsworth, aye.
Tim Jorgensen, aye.
Kelly Jensen, aye. Motion carries 5-0. Business Services, where you have 11A, their LCAP annual update presentation. This is for information only, so Mr. King, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. So just to clarify for the board and public, we have 2 LCAP presentations at this time of year. This first one is a little bit shorter, and then the subsequent one you'll hear in June. And what I'm most proud of this year is that Hassan Mirza and Kim Shaw have really changed the manner in which the LCAP has gone out this year, and I appreciate all of their efforts. Hassan Mirza came up the classified route, the business services route, and so he's partnering up with Kim Shaw, who has the educational background. But I credit Mr. Mirza because I walked in on him yesterday working with our teachers on putting together the written document. And the teachers, from my understanding, feel extremely good about this process because it's not just going to them and saying, here's what we came up with, rubber stamp it, what do you think? Feeling more like a consulting perspective. This feels more to me like a collaborative perspective, a collaborative effort. And you see Ms. Lepp and Ms. Chun on the screen there. I really appreciate the efforts of both of them. I know it's very time consuming, and I'll turn it over to our group here to share more.
Hello, good evening, board members. So just waiting for the presentation to come up. Okay, so tonight we'll be going over the annual update for the LCAP. So we're kind of going to go over how we did on the goals that we set for last year, you know, where we landed as far as, you know, our expectations to where our actual results were. And so we'll kind of give you an update from our previous year's LCAP, which is 1920. We didn't have one last year. And so we'll provide you guys an update. We'll go over the timeline of where we are and where we're going to be headed in the next few months. And then from there, we'll kind of get the progress of what we've been doing and trying to develop our next year's three-year LCAP and kind of go over the stakeholder engagement meetings with you guys and some of the processes that we went through with all of the different stakeholders and the questions that were asked. And we'll look at their feedback that they gave to us and kind of pull some commonalities and themes that we pulled from that. And we're using those commonalities and themes that we pulled from the engagement meetings to develop our LCAP goals. So let's see if we can move to the next slide. Let me see, do I have access? Okay, so our timeline right now, we are here in April 22nd. And so we're providing you guys the update. From here on forward, so in May 11th, just yesterday we worked collaboratively with Alexa, Mrs. Shun, Nicole Salcido, Kim Shaw, Paul Savedra, Matthew Brockway. Everybody has been really collaborative in this whole process and trying to put together and revise the goals that we had in our previous 3-year LCAP to see what our district needs going forward in the upcoming 3 years. So we'll be meeting back with the stakeholders in the next month to kind of give them and show them what we've come up with and see if they have any input and we could tweak any of the changes that we see that we can make on the revised goals that we've developed. And then from there, on May 31st, we have to post a draft LCAP, and then we will be coming to you on June. And at that meeting, we'll be presenting to the board members what our next 3-year LCAP is going to be, and then on June 24th, the board will adopt it. So let's move forward. So, back. So when we develop the LCAP, we have to make sure that we take into consideration all of these different criteria. So we have to make sure we cover basic services, implementation of state standards, parental involvement. We have to have pupil engagement, and address the school climate, which talks about safety. How our campuses are as far as cleanliness, and if they're up to par with the facilities inspections. Then we have to also look at other pupil outcomes like college and career indicators, and if everyone has access to course access to all the materials. And so we have to make sure that we take into consideration all these factors in order for the LCAP to get approved. And so just wanted to go over what our current goals are. And so goal 1 talks about academic achievement. So we're talking about ELA, math, CAST, exam scores, and those are reflected on the dashboard and from the state standard test, which is CAST. And so that's what goal 1 addresses. Goal 2 talks about English learners. We talk about the reclassification rate. We talk about LPAC scores. Goal 3 specifically talks about absenteeism, goes into truancies, chronic truancies, suspension rates, high school dropout rates. Goal 4 now goes into more of parent involvement and community members and how we keep them engaged and how the district is fostering positive relationships and communicating with the community out there. And so goal 5 goes into talking about our secondary students, and it talks about, from high school to college and making sure they're career ready. We're talking about the USC to CSU eligibility rates. And so goal 6 goes into making sure that we have the appropriate assignment of teachers who are fully credentialed. And goal 7 then goes into, talks about if the district is safe and secure. So it goes into the facility inspection tool. It goes into asking surveys to the parents that go out and how they feel about our safety at campus and how their students feel about being at campus. They feel safe and secure, and if our facilities are well maintained. So with that said, let's see here. This is the dashboard, which is the state performance category. I kind of wanted to touch base on this because as we give you guys the update, you're going to see several different colors. And so blue means, we're high performing, and then it goes into a range of different colors. Red means that we're on a low performance. And if you see NA, that means either the data is not available, and it could also mean that we didn't have a large enough sample size to garner results. And so with that said, I'm going to pass it on to Alexa, and she's going to go into goal 1.
Everyone. Okay, so as a reminder, I know we went over a lot of goals there, so I just want to remind you, goal 1 was all about increasing grade level proficiency by 2% annually. So this is all about students maintaining or achieving dashboard state indicator performance levels, those, different colors he was talking about, and we wanted yellow or better, looking at that CAST and CAST data. So looking at this slide, you can see what our expected outcomes were and what our actual outcomes were. And this is how we performed. The actual is how we performed according to that California dashboard. So for the ELA, the total number of student groups in each performance level were 2 in the orange, 2 in the yellow, and 1 in the green. So starting with students in the groups within that green performance level. So all students, we had a median increase from the prior year, which is, when I say that increase, it means like 3 to 15 points. And then for our white population, we had a high increase from the prior year, which puts us in that green category. Moving on to our student groups in the yellow performance level, that's looking at that SED, so socioeconomically disadvantaged population. So although we increased from the prior year, which again is that increase of 3 to 15 points, We are still in the yellow when it comes to our SED and our EL population. For our EL population, we increased significantly from the prior year, which means that we gained about 15 points from 2018 to 2019. But once again, we are still in that yellow category for that dashboard. And then finally, for our orange performance level, our SWD, students with disabilities population, it increased once again from that year prior, but we are still in the orange category, so we need work there, as well as our Hispanic population. We maintained from the year prior, which means that we're still in orange categories. We want to make sure we're working on those to be able to make that in the future. You'll see two other student populations on here for ELA. That were not available on the California dashboard. That's our RFEP, which stands for Reclassified Fluent English Proficient, and our youth populations. However, we are able to look at the other data on there with that expected percentages and the actual outcomes right next to each other. So for our RFEP population, we expected 69%. However, our actual was 63.41% for 2019. So we did not meet that expected percentage. And then our foster youth, as Hassan said earlier, that has that NA because it's not applicable or not available. And then going into our math, so the total number of students in each performance level was 2 for orange, 3 for the yellow. So starting with the student groups in the yellow performance level, our EL population had a significant increase from the year prior. However, once again, looking at that California dashboard, we are still in the yellow for them. Looking at our all students, so that means all students within the district, and then our SED population, both increased from the year prior, but once again, dashboard, we are still in the yellow. Moving on to our orange performance level, as our SWD increased from the year prior. However, we are still in the orange when it comes to California dashboards. So we want to work on that. And then same thing goes for our both our Hispanic and white student populations for math. Looking at that dashboard, both of those maintained from the prior year. So that's what we want to work on. And then once again, those two student populations that didn't have same ones as before for ELA, they're not available on the California dashboard, the RFEP and foster youth. We do still have that expected and the actual outcomes. So we expected for our RFEP population to get 20%. However, our actual was 22.5% for 2019. So we did not meet that expected percentage. And then same thing, foster youth, there is no data available. So I'm going to hand this off to Nicole Chun now, who's going to talk about our second goal.
Good evening. Goal number 2 was to increase the percentage of English learners who were reclassified as fluent English proficient, or RFEP students, by 2% each year. And that actually, the measured outcomes was actually the middle line of that slide. So the 5-year average for the 13-14 through the 17-18 school year was 1.3%. And our 2019 to 2020 actuals was 12.9%, so we did meet that increase. And then at the top line, the data represents the percentage of students making adequate measured progress towards being redesignated, and we projected at 48%, and so we just made it at 48.4%. And then that bottom line is an indicator of the current overall performance, or well, the 2019 overall performance of students, the number of students at grade level scoring level 4 on the LPAC, and therefore those would be the students that we would be looking at and considering to apply district criteria to redesignate them as fluent English proficient. And goal 3, sorry, my brain. Goal 3 was to decrease chronic absenteeism, improve reduce rates of truancy, habitual truancy, school suspensions, and maintain expulsion at 0%. I can't see, sorry. So at the LCAP, we had a projected rate of 7.2%, and our 1920 actual was 8.46%. So we didn't meet that goal. Chronic absenteeism are students that have missed 20 or more days of school. Truancy are students that have between 3 and 9 unexcused absences, and that was calculated by ARIES for 1920 at 31.9%. And habitual truancy, which would be 9 or more unexcused absences, was calculated from ARIES data at 14.7%. Overall, the bottom line, the attendance rate, dropped from 96.32% down to 94.28%. And, we were basically seeing ADA down about 49 kids, which equates to approximately $490,000. Suspension rates, we did not reduce suspension rates. Students' actuals put us at 5%, and that leaves us on the red on the dashboard. So that is an area that we want to work on and grow in. But we did maintain our expulsion rate at 0 moving forward. And then I believe I'm going to hand it off to Mr. Mirza for an update on Goal 4.
Okay, so Goal 4 was about, garnering positive influence or positivity from the public and how they perceive our schools. So we sent surveys out, and, some of the questions regarding in the survey were about, if they felt that they had a positive school environment, if the district seeks inputs to make decisions, encourage partnerships, and if we have a supportive environment, feel safe at home, and if they're happy with their home site. Now, keep in mind the backdrop of this entire update may be skewed because, we were dealing with a global pandemic. So, when it comes to surveys, a lot of it is how you're feeling at that time, and so I know that the entire community, everyone throughout California faced a huge pandemic. So, I wouldn't be too discouraged by these results as well, because right off the bat, our 1920 actuals, we were expecting to be at 80.34 for encouraging partnerships, and we're at 75.41. The survey for the district seeks input decisions came back at 40.99. Supportive environment, we barely missed at 81.50 to 80.99, and 75.76 and 71.70% if they felt safe and if they were happy. And so Goal 5, I believe this is you, Nicole, or
All right, so just a reminder, once again, Goal 5 is all about our students in secondary education. So this is all about if they're on track for graduation from high school, college and career ready, and experiencing academic progress and success in broad courses study sets. We were aiming for increasing 1% annually. Our graduation, very high level, which is fantastic. Our very high level means 90.5% or greater, maintained from the prior year, and our actual graduation rate is 96.6%. So we're doing excellent in that. I'm sorry, was in 2019. There we go. So that puts us in the blue performance level. That's the highest you can go. The rest of the data here is actually not available on the dashboard. That's why you're seeing it on NA. This is you're able to actually see this data for the actual percentages for 2019-2020. So the rest of these data points have to be hand calculated. So looking at our UC CSU eligibility, our A through G rate, we had 47.5% of students. EAP, this is the early assessment program, which lets you know, or students know, if they're ready for college level work in English and math at the end of their 11th grade year, so their junior year. So for English, we had 48.81%, and for math, the EAP Math Ready, 17.08%. And then the last two things here are AP exam passage, which means you get a 3 or higher. We had 31% of students for the 2019-2020 school year. And then that last one that says metric is all about dropout rates. So this is great because they remain at 0%. So, which is where we want to stay. Moving it on to Nicole.
I have an update for goals 6 and 7. Goal 6, just to remind, is that we would maintain and appropriately assign staff members fully credentialed, and we have maintained that. We currently have 100% of our teachers properly assigned and fully credentialed for the subjects they teach. Goal 7 is that the district will continue to provide a safe and secure and drug-free learning environment for our students. And students will have access to standards-aligned material, a safe and secure, aesthetically pleasing learning environment. So we did see a slight difference between our anticipated percentages and the perception percentages from the LCAP survey. However, per both the Williams Act report and inspection, as well as the FIT test, the facilities inspection tool test, we met the criteria for safe schools as well as access to appropriate instructional materials at 100%. Sorry. You changed the slide, so I thought you would. So now Mr. Mercer will tell a little bit about the collaborative process we've engaged in to review this LCAP and begin the next one.
Yeah, so we're going to be shifting gears here. So we just gave you an update of how we did on our annual update. So now we're going to talk about the work that we've been putting into developing our new LCAP. So we've had several stakeholder engagement meetings. We met with ADA, we met with CSEA, we met with DLAC group. We also met with the parent group, and I believe I'm missing one more. And then Matthew Brockway had a staff meeting at his school site, and they were all asked the same question. They were all asked what is working at Acton and what areas can we improve on. And so the next couple slides, you're going to see pictures of the collaborative process, and then you'll see some of the results, from those meetings. We're not going to go through and read every single thing, but we'll just kind of touch on a few items from each and go from there. So let's go forward. So, okay, so here was the engagement meeting with the teachers and the CSEA group. Going forward, this was with the parents. Mr. King was present as well, and we touched base with the parents. And so with ADA stakeholder group, we asked them the question, what is working at Acton? And so they, just a few things. Staff members have the best intention of students. They were really impressed of how staff was able to switch and adapt to different learning models. They were happy with the technology. Students felt safe at Meadowlark. Feeding the kids, they were really impressed with child nutrition and how we continue to feed the kids during the pandemic. Opportunities and areas that we can grow in, they felt that, we need more family involvement, and we need to make sure that accountability is there. We have support for teachers, implement restorative practice. A lot of them talked about the communication, the flow from communication from the district level onwards needs to be improved, and just kind of have a unified message. Going forward, meeting with the CSEA group, they were saying that the parent engagement is present. Communication with the community, they felt it was working well. Staff and parents are dedicated to changes with COVID. They felt that technology was smooth, the tech rollout was managed effectively. They said that the campuses remain clean, kids are amazing, and again, food service. And then what opportunities for them to grow? They wanted it to go back to normal before COVID, but they also touched on communication and getting input prior to decisions. And let's move on. And so here we had, the parent stakeholder group. And, their reflections were teaching staff is very effective, caring. They were really positive about the various programs we have, a rodeo, the handbells, the culinary arts. They were really supportive of the community. They felt that it was amazing. We had beautiful campuses. They were impressed with the athletics and the sports programs. And, they're also happy with the staff. They felt they were very responsive. Our superintendent engaged in various groups. the front office, counseling staff were really positive about that. Areas that we have to grow, they also felt that we should offer, more electives and additional enhancement programs. Our sports field, they mentioned that needs attention, offer more AP classes, mentorship programs. Also, they touched on communication as well and transparency. And so we had the pleasure of meeting the DLAC group when the restrictions were a little loosened, so it was great.